Welcome to Adding HID Control Panels and Subpanels training. This training is designed to show designer and installer teams how to set up a Avigilon Access Control Manager. Specifically, it provides a detailed overview of how to install HID control panels and subpanels in the software application. After completing this training, you will be able to install an HID control panel and subpanel in a Avigilon Access Control Manager. Note that terminology differs between HID and Avigilon Access Control Manager. See the table here for differences in terminology. To install an HID control panel, start by clicking the Physical Access tab in the Home page. From the available options, click Panels, then click the highlighted button. In the Add New Panel wizard, enter a name and the physical location of the HID control panel. Leave the appliance at its default setting, then select the vendor. Note that vendor options that appear in this drop-down menu are based on Avigilon Access Control Manager licenses. In this demonstration, we are installing this vendor. Then ensure to click Installed, or Avigilon Access Control Manager will not recognize the installation. After, select the model. You can find the model number under the HID logo on the top of the control panel, as shown here. In this demonstration, we are installing this model. Select the time zone, then click Save. The Subpanel Batch Add wizard provides you the option to either install subpanels at this point in the installation or to manually add them after. We will add subpanels manually in the latter half of this demonstration. Leave all of the models at their default values and click Save. At this point, you need to add the IP address for the HID control panel. You must pre-configure the control panel with an IP address, subnet mask, and default gateway before adding it. To learn how to pre-configure the HID control panel with an IP address, consult your HID control panel models installation guide or see the training material on this topic. After configuring the IP, in the Host tab, enter the IP address of the HID control panel. Enter the port value as shown here. Leave the offline timeout at its default value, then click Save. If the control panel installed and connected successfully, all of the indicators should display green in the Status tab. Then check to see if the latest firmware is installed by clicking the highlighted button. Check to see if the latest firmware has been installed in the table. If not, click the highlighted button to install the latest version. Click the highlighted button to upload the latest firmware. You can obtain the latest firmware from the Avigilon website in the Support and Download section. After uploading the latest firmware, ensure to enter the control panel's password. Often, the default is password. After entering the password, apply the firmware by clicking here. If the password was entered correctly, the firmware should install successfully. Return to the Status tab and reset the control panel by clicking the highlighted button. Note that the panel may go offline for a short period of time while it resets. Note that the appliance records this activity and displays and logs it as an event in the Monitor tab. To sum up, 1. In the Physical Access tab, click Panels, then click Add New Panel to add an HID control panel. 2. In the Add New Panel wizard, name the control panel and its physical location, select the vendor, click Installed, and then choose the model and the time zone. 3. In the Subpanel Batch Add wizard, decide to install subpanels at this point or to manually add them after. 4. In the Host tab, enter the IP address of the HID control panel. 5. Click Firmware to ensure the latest firmware has been installed, and then click Reset Download. Before installing a subpanel, you need to install a control panel. To learn how to install a control panel, consult Avigilon Access Control Manager help files or the training material available on this topic. After installing an HID control panel, you can install a subpanel by clicking the Subpanel tab, then by clicking the highlighted button. First, name the subpanel and enter its physical location. Then, select the model and the port. After, click Installed, or Avigilon Access Control Manager will not recognize the installation. Next, select the address. Note that the selected address must match the address set on the dial on the top of the physical subpanel as shown here. Finally, click Save. If you know what you are using the HID subpanel for in terms of its inputs, outputs, and readers, we recommend that you name them. To do this, click on the highlighted button. When the input table appears, click on the input you want to rename. Rename the input, then click Save. In the Status tab, if the subpanel installed and connected successfully, all of the indicators should display green in the subpanel table, as shown here. To sum up, 1. Click the Subpanel tab and then click Add New Subpanel. 2. Name the subpanel and its physical location, select the model, the port, click Installed, and enter the address. 3. If you know what you are using the subpanel for, name it. 4. If the subpanel installed successfully, all of the indicators should display green.